Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Basketball. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by Skyline Sports, Colter Nuanez. We're going to go inside the Big Sky presented by Visit Pocatello. Colter, Montana got revenge on Northern Colorado this weekend with their 86-78 win over the Bears, extending their win streak to 6, edging out NAU on the road. How big of a statement did the Grizz make this weekend?
Well, big time, because I think both the win in Greeley, but then also to follow it up with the win in Flagstaff is huge for Montana. This is a program that Travis DeCuire had atop the league year in and year out before the pandemic, and they've certainly been competitive since the pandemic. And last year, I mean, they won 24 games. They went to a postseason tournament, so it's not like they've been down or anything like that. But this team is his best team in the post-pandemic era. And I think that was affirmed not only by the impressive performance against Northern Colorado, but then to stamp it against a team that in NAU that I think is better than their record. Montana now, they take a ton of momentum into this stretch run, and I think it's in a favorable stretch run as well. They still have to play in Bozeman, certainly, but they've already played Idaho twice. They've already played Northern Colorado and Northern Arizona twice. So they have several of the better teams in the league already in the rear view. So Montana's certainly inside track on the league title now after this weekend.
Another team that has been heating up is Idaho State, winning 3 of their last 4. Dylan Darling scoring at least 20 points in all 4 of those games, had a career-high 30-point night on Saturday. How impressive has Darling been for the Bengals?
Boy, absolutely unbelievable. He is absolutely a front runner for MVP. It's going to be fascinating. I know we're going to talk about that next week, but it's going to be fascinating to see how that all plays out too, because look at the two teams in the top, Montana and Northern Colorado. They both do it by committee, and they have so many good players. They spread the ball around. Make no mistake, Dylan Darling has completely taken the league by storm. I mean, he has made Idaho State several spots in the standings better just from his performance. I love the swagger that he plays with, and what a get by Idaho State to get him to transfer from Washington State. He was such a highly regarded player out of high school, and then he got hurt at Wazoo and kind of fell out of the rotation, and here he is now, making big waves in Pocatello. I think he's absolutely the newcomer of the year. If he doesn't win MVP, if he wins MVP, they'll probably give the newcomer of the year to somebody else. But I think that he's absolutely been one of the biggest impact newcomers in the conference so far this year.
I got to watch him in person on Saturday night, and he is very fun to watch in person. He told me before the game that this season has helped him fall in love with basketball again after that injury. The season-ending injury from last season, and it shows with his performance on the court for sure. Moving over to the women's side, Montana State got the season sweep over NAU, the number 2 team in the conference. On paper, that was their biggest test remaining in the regular season. What teams, if any, could pose a problem for the Bobcats these last few weeks?
Well, always the Lady Grizz, just because it's a rivalry. Montana certainly ridden the roller coaster. Brian Holsinger, the head coach, he resigned as we record this here today, earlier this week. So that's certainly been some tumult for Montana, but they took Montana State down the wire. Granted, that was in Missoula. They're going to have a huge home court advantage when that game comes to Bozeman. But, rivalry games, you always have to say either side could win. But I think Idaho is probably the other big test for Montana State. Here's the thing about the Cats, though, is, we talk about trap games. We talk about where can you, stub your toe. It's really, really, really hard to play really great basketball 20 weeks in a row or 21 weeks in a row or however many, I guess it would be 10 or 11 weeks in a row, but 20, 21, 22 games in a row, which that's where Montana State would be if they were to run the table, given the win streak they had in the non-conference into conference play. The thing about the Cats, though, is that so often when you fall into a trap game, it's when you go on the road and you can't make a shot. Well, Montana State's already gone on the road and couldn't make a shot in multiple of their wins over the last couple weeks. Like the old coaching cliche goes, defense travels, and that's what Montana State does better than anybody. It doesn't matter if they shoot 25% or 55%. If they shoot 55%, they're probably going to run you out of the gym and beat you by 25. But they've figured out a way to win by a possession or 2 or 3 because they force so many turnovers. They're just going to get more shots up than you because they're going to take the ball away from you. And they just have such incredible depth. When you play 11, it's pretty hard to have all 11 young ladies not find some sort of a rhythm or a groove and have everybody have a cold shooting night. So Montana State continues to roll. And after this last weekend, I do think that they have the most difficult part of their schedule in the rear view. Now I think the biggest opponent Montana State has is the narrative more than just the teams that they're playing. Can they handle the pressure? Like if they have a chance to go undefeated and be the first team in the new like scheduling era, basically, the Lady Grizz ran the table several times back in the day, but in terms of like the 18 to 20 game schedule in this sort of modern era, no one's ever ran the table in that scenario. If Montana State has the ability to do that, how do they handle the pressure and all the talk about it? I mean, they're getting covered like everybody in the. I mean, they are the top team in terms of coverage right now in the conference. I'd say they're getting play on this show. They're getting play from a regional level. They're obviously getting tons of play in Montana. So how can they handle that pressure? I think that's probably one of, if not their biggest obstacles moving forward.